Welcome back to Ill Eagle Culture Brands Red Tape Talk. I'm your host, John Ostos, a.k.a. Ill Eagle CEO, and I'm here with my two counterparts, Dion, Two Cup Larry, and Cody, Big Meat Mauk. What's going on, fellas?
Nothing much.
Right on. And today we have a couple special guests. This is our Halloween special, so this is actually dropping on Thursday when we would normally record, but since Halloween's on a Thursday, we're going to drop it on Thursday as a Halloween special. And to kick that off, we've invited a couple guests here. Lisa, who is a guide for paranormal investigation at Bonanzaville, and then we have Megean, who is an events coordinator at Bonanzaville. And they know a little bit about some paranormal investigation. They've had some experience with some readings and hearing sounds and voices, and you've been to several different haunted places and kind of done some work there. So we're going to get into some cool stories about paranormal investigation. So ladies, welcome to the show.
Yeah, yes. Thanks for having us out here. So we run paranormal investigations at Bonanzaville the month of October. We just finished up this past weekend. We go through 6 buildings. Each session is 90 minutes long. Every year we usually, as a team, work together on this, and then I coordinate and try to get like a paranormal group in from around the area to kind of bring this experience a little bit different experience by having some actual professional paranormal investigators come out. And so we run 2 sessions usually during the month of October that go 90 minutes. And then the last weekend, this past weekend, we ran 3 sessions. And then the last one went from like 11:30 to 1. So we have a lot of fun with it. We do soup and sandwich bar, drinks, all of that with it. And try to see what we can. Every session's different. And Lisa's one of the guides that's been out here with us for about 3 years. So she can definitely talk about some of her experiences that she's had in the buildings, and I'll turn it kind of over to her.
Hold on. Megean, how did you get started with Bonanzaville itself? Let's hear that story first.
Yeah, so Bonanzaville's been part of my life since I was 14 years old. It was my first job. Started working there in 1994. I stayed out there till 1996. I used to clean the buildings, and then stayed out there till about 17 years old, promoted to gift shop. I was in medical sales most of my adult life, and the pandemic hit. So my career changed just a bit. And I was back working in a pediatric clinic with kids. And I had found out that the events coordinator was moving out of state. And I reached out to Beth Jansen, who's now the executive director, has been there since 2020. And I came back in 2021, which is going back to like the paranormal activity and the investigations and all of that. You do feel a sense of something. And I have a deep connection. I'm from the area. I grew up here. My dad passed away in February. He was the founder of Skydive Fargo. Oh. And he actually skydived into Bonanzaville when I was 5 years old. Wow. And so when I say it's been part of my life, it's been rooted into it. And so that's why, for me personally, I always feel like a deep connection to Bonanzaville when I'm out there. And whether you believe in spirits or anything like that, I personally feel that that we're kind of the caretakers of the buildings, Sure. And so I feel that connection when I'm out there all the time. And like I said, it's been part of my life for so long.
So do you personally believe in the spirits or purgatory or anything like that?
I do believe that we are we're a staff of 4 full-time people. And I do believe that there is, I believe there's a connection. Like I feel something. It's different there like different times of the day for me. Yeah. When I'm there during the day and I'm there at night, it's definitely a different feeling. And it's not a scary feeling. Sure. It's not like I feel like it's, anything I'm terrified. I mean, I've been out there with Lisa until 2 a.m. I don't feel terrified to be out there. Yeah. I feel more like a protector of all the historic buildings. That's cool. And that's kind of how I. So
maybe whatever's out there, entities wise, they respect you guys for that then.
Yeah, I feel that, personally, yes, I do believe in this sort of thing. And I feel that because it's been part of my life so long, Bonanzaville has, that there is a connection to every building out there for me in different ways.
Yeah.
And so I think that everything happens for a reason. I had no idea in my life. I mean, I'm 45, almost 46 years old, that I would go back to the first job I ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, I never even crossed my mind. It happened, and everything happens for a reason. And so, it definitely feel a connection to the place. And when I go into the certain buildings, I feel, there's just this different aura in each building.
Yeah, sure. So I'm not really from here, so I'm not too familiar like these guys would. What is Bonanzaville? And is it just about like being some haunted place, or is there more to it than that? And coincidentally, it might be haunted.
No, we're a historic village museum. We have approximately 36 buildings that are historic, total of 41 buildings out there. And so we're part of the Cass County Historical Society, and we do business as Bonanzaville. Okay. So no, we're not like if you think of like Leonard, North Dakota, where they have, the haunted. We're not. That's not what we are. We do different events each year. We have 4 major events. One of them is Pioneer Days. 4th of July, we do a family fun day. We start out the year in May with school tours. We do Christmas on the Prairie. So we do a lot of different things. In October, we run the paranormal investigations. Okay. So yeah, it's just.
So it's just one of the themes throughout the year that you guys have going on over there.
I guess I don't know if I'd say like theme or event. It's more of everything is different because we have different components of the village.
So like, what do people tour when they go there, for example?
So they come in and then like on a regular opening month like May with the school tours, they come in and they walk, through the buildings. We have an indoor museum and then the outdoor museum. We're closed for a season. October 1st, we close the outside of the village, but we're open for free on the weekends to allow people to come in and see. We have different displays. On the curator side, they redo and constantly change displays. We have tons of artifacts. I couldn't even tell you how many that haven't even probably been displayed. And some of them are probably there since 1994 when I left the first time.
Sure.
So there's different elements to what we do.
Got you.
So, yeah.
It is a really, really cool place. I would highly suggest that if you haven't been out to there, to definitely check it out. If you're definitely into history and stuff. I remember going there when I was a kid a couple of times, and super cool place.
Well, yeah. And everybody that's been from the area, like you said, when you were a school kid, most everybody came for school tours in May. Okay. So, you get people that come back even after 20 some years saying, hey, I came out as a kid. And, they haven't been back for 20 some years. So it's just exciting for people to bring their families, bring their kids, next generations to what we have out there. So
nice.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Lisa.
So now getting into the good stuff. So Lisa, introduce yourself and tell us how you got started into the business.
So I'm Lisa. I've always been intrigued by paranormal. I grew up in Apache Junction, Arizona. And as a kid...
I've been through there.
Really?
Yep. My wife's parents got a house down there in Mesa.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a good place.
Yep.
It started off as a kid. Just unexplained things happening in my childhood home that, my parents didn't believe, or they would try to, oh, that's nothing. You're just imagining it. Yeah. And now as an adult, here I come to find out it was a child's antique rocking chair that my mother had purchased at an auction sale for me.
That's how it always is.
And so I always saw a little boy, like, my imaginary friend, and the rocking chair was in our living room facing out, and then at night, she'd get up in the morning and the rocking chair would be turned facing the wall. And she always thought it was me or my dad messing with her, Well, no, it wasn't. So one morning, she was up making breakfast. The chair was how she had it. My dad and I were outside playing, and she walked into the living room to call us, through the window for breakfast. And the chair had turned in just that, 5 minutes. So, and now I look back and I, thanks, Mom. As a kid, you made me think I was just Looney Tune or something, and now it's like it was your fault.
Yeah.
But so I've always been kind of wanting to get into the paranormal, try to debunk some stuff.
Yeah.
So I started just kind of small time going around the country. When we go on vacations, I'd, do Tombstone. I did the Birdcage Theater. I did Deadwood, the Adams House, Bullock Hotel, the Fremont Hotel, St. Augustine Lighthouse, Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. Now that was too much for even me, but so I just combined, and I have a love for history. I've always had a love for history. I'm one of those where, I read about something and it soaks in, so
Sure.
I can really, between Bonanzaville, the historical side of it, and then the paranormal side of it, I mean, like, that's my element. I'm in my happy place right there.
Yeah. That's why we found you on a paranormal site on Facebook, huh?
Yeah.
So when you were in, I'm actually going to Tombstone over Christmas time.
Okay.
So I'm going to be go check that out. So was there any activity there in that Birdcage Theater that you noticed, or?
Well, see, we did the tour. They have you standing in the entryway, and it never hardly ever rains or storms in Arizona. It's a desert.
Mm-hmm.
Right as we're getting ready for our tour, a huge storm rolled through and knocked out the electricity to the entire building.
Oh, that'd be freaky.
Yeah, no. We're going to eat after that.
Yeah.
So, it was a dark tour to begin with, but we did. I was, towards the end of the tour, they have you sit down around a big circle. They have I don't know what it's called, like spirit boxes and all that stuff. You can ask questions. And so out of our group of maybe 10, 12, of course, I'm the talker. So I'm the one asking questions, trying to get responses. And all of a sudden, just right behind me, I could feel the breath on my neck. It was like a hiss or like a psst, but really loud, something trying to get my attention. And everybody in the group, even our tour guide, heard it, and we all jumped. And and then that was about it though for the Birdcage Theater. Getting hissed at, but
So I watched Zach Bagans' documentary on Netflix, I think it was, or rented it on Vudu or whatever it was. But so I saw all the stuff that he has in there. And so did you make it through all of it, his whole museum, or what was that experience like?
Yes, we did. We did the RIP tour where you pay a little extra and then you can go behind the scenes a little more. Like you can actually go down the basement. His museum actually, Jenna Jameson, the famous porn star. She
who?
actually, the porn star, Jenna Jameson. Oh, you don't know who she was?
Nah.
Oh, good boy. She actually grew up in that house.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And her dad did like rituals that weren't so good.
Whoa.
Yeah, down the basement with her
Really?
older brother.
Wow.
So to this day, if you look it up, she doesn't like to talk about it. But so we got to go down the basement. He's got tons of haunted dolls, which my husband and I went through. My husband does not like dolls, period, or clowns.
Yep.
He's got a clown room, a circus room, and he pumps in like a smell of like burnt, nasty popcorn into this room, which is it's just nauseating. You're just like wanting to get out of the room because of the smell. So one of the rooms that we did go into was the Dybbuk box room. You guys have heard about that?
Yep.
It's like some little box from the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
That
It
supposedly
has like trinkets and stuff in it.
very, very possessed. Yes. And, he's got it in a glass case, locked up, salts all around it kind of thing. And you walk in and you walk around it. And I remember, I didn't say anything, but I just remember stopping and looking at it, kind of turning my head going, that's it? The Dybbuk box, that my jewelry box looks better than that. I'm like, that's it? Kind of disappointed in it. And a couple seconds later, I just felt this horrible burning sensation down my back, from my left shoulder blade down my back. And so I pulled my husband aside. I said, could you please lift up my shirt? So it felt like something bit me. So he lifted up my shirt, and I had 3 long scratch marks going down my back.
Oh,
I didn't say anything out loud, but the thought through my head was, that's disappointing. Yeah, it's a box, whoop-de-doo. but you cannot take photos. You cannot video. If you even pull out your phone at all, they'll confiscate it till the end of the tour. So he couldn't take a photo of it to document it until the end of the tour. So after the tour was done, it's an 1.5-hour tour. We went outside and he lifted up my shirt again and it was gone.
Oh,
Crazy.
I bet you're not coming back with me. You gotta stay. I'm sorry. You gotta find a ride home.
And then later that night, back in our hotel room, my husband got violently ill. He could not get out of the bathroom. He slept in the bathroom. He was just majorly sick. He said it just felt like something just punched him in the stomach and he couldn't.
That's how the movies go, just like the movies. That's.
I'm regretting dressing as a voodoo doctor in this episode. I'm just gonna put that out there.
It wouldn't have anything to do with what he was pumping in the air, though, would it?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it might make him nauseated, but not to the point where he's like sleeping on the bathroom floor for 12 hours.
So when you were in there, you could actually feel like something.
It was a very heavy feeling
items.
from the moment you walk in. It's just it's a very heavy feeling. And again, there's a lot of history in there, which I really liked. Like there's the Al Capone room where, the rug where Al Capone, would sit, and there's burn marks from his cigar ashes on there.
Oh, crazy.
So I'm like looking at that, I'm like, ooh, cool. Or the Kevorkian room, his actual death van, that was actually kind of neat too. I'm looking at the history side, he's got, the serial killer room. I mean, it's very gory. If you have a very weak stomach, you might want to skip some of these rooms. But, like the Charles Manson room, he's got the catheter that Charles Manson used and, all this stuff up on his wall. So I'm sitting there reading this stuff while, I'm like more interested in reading the history of this stuff than the actual ghost hunting. But
so there's a lot of dark shit in there.
Yeah, that sounds pretty
and,
interesting.
And he has his television that was Charles Manson's and... Oh yeah, he's got a lot of really.
So is it worth it?
Stuff. Yeah, yeah. If I mean, you have to sign so many waivers though before you get there. I mean, even like not responsible for
possession
of your offspring or your offspring's offspring kind of thing. Yeah, I'm like,
wow,
oh, okay. So I'm signing away my grandchildren's lives here, but okay.
That's crazy that you have to take that much precaution just to cover their butts.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You're gonna go sign your kids' lives away, Cody, when you go up there, or what?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like very. Honestly, ever since I heard that he had that museum, I've wanted to see it because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff. I know about the Dybbuk box because the movie Possession came out, and that's what it's about. Basically, the Dybbuk box is like supposed to be one of the most haunted artifacts out there.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's got the Devil's Rocking Chair, and if you purchase the RIP, you can actually go behind the barrier, and if you're brave enough, sit in this Devil's Rocking Chair. Well, no, I was good. Looking at it's fine. I'm not going to sit in it. And he had the Demon House. I don't know if you guys have seen any of his episodes. He's got the stairs that led to the basement. In there, and actual dirt from the Demon House.
That's where he messed up his eyes. I think that's what he said. Yeah.
Yep. So, and then, if you do the RIP, that's, you get to see this stuff and you're given the option though. I mean, again, before they take you into these rooms, they tell you the warnings, like we're not responsible. This is what this is. If you care to go in and view it, fine. If not, you can wait out here. He's got actual skeletons, like human bodies and like shrunken heads from the Amazon.
Dude, that sounds so wild.
Right. He's got like the Masonic room, Mason temples were actual skeletons in coffins. And so, I mean, it's intense. There's a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I went to the Museum of Crime and Punishment in DC when they had it there before it closed, and that was pretty gnarly too. So
yeah.
So I actually did I'm really super interested in ghost stuff. Mm-hmm. I've never had an experience. And so when I was deployed out to DC with the Guard, we had some time and we went to Gettysburg to do a paranormal tour out there in Gettysburg. And so it was a group of probably like, 15 people, right? So it's a pretty big group. And when we first got started, we were all standing outside of this house, which was it was basically a hospital back in the Civil War. So it saw a lot of bodies and whatnot. But the tour guide, he was showing us some of the tools that you use on paranormal research studies or whatever. And he was holding like these 2 rods, right? They call it dowling rods or something.
Dowsing rods.
Dowsing rods.
Yeah.
And he was telling us how to do it. So he was asking questions, and then the rods would go like this, you know, and like he's like, all right, I'm gonna show you guys how to do this. And then so he was, acting like he was asking spirit if there was a spirit there, and he did that. And we were like, whoa, right? And then he was like, oh, that was me. And so the moment he said that, I was just like, it took the wind out of my sails. Right. I was like, okay, this is all going to be bullshit, right? And we went through and took pictures and stuff, trying to see stuff, and I didn't see nothing. And I don't know if there was I feel like there was just way too many people in that group to be able to get an experience. I will say there was one time we were at this old schoolhouse, and we had this like rubber ball. It was like a bouncy ball that lights up, and we had it sitting on the floor, and it would just randomly start lighting up and flashing. Weird. So that would be something. And I did have the dowsing rods. Then they did do stuff for me when I was at that, but after that guy did it kind of just threw me off.
You're like, maybe I am doing it,
dude. I don't know. But yeah, the bouncy ball. Other than that, like I haven't been able to experience like anything, and I'm just like so disappointed. So that's why I'm like really excited to talk to you about other stuff and
right, yes.
Have you had personal experiences like outside of just going to like tour like a haunted place or anything? Have you actually had an encounter that or something that seen something that scared the hell out of you?
She said the rocking chair was the first one.
Well, that was one.
That
Yeah,
was the
first one when she was younger.
Okay, after we did Tombstone, the Birdcage Theater, we were staying in Phoenix, so we drove back to our hotel room, and my husband took our children down to the swimming pool. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to call my mom back in Moorhead just to check in, tell her how things are going. So I was on the phone in the hotel room by myself, on the phone with my mother, and my mom goes, "What's that music in the background?" I said, "Nothing, Mom. There's no TV on. The kids are all down at the pool. It's just me." She goes, "No, it sounds like old-time piano music."
Oh, freaky.
I couldn't hear it, but she could.
Wow.
So, after that phone call ended, I went downstairs, to the pool area, checked in with my kids and husband, went to use the bathroom that was downstairs. And as I'm using the bathroom, my phone rings and it all shows up all zeros.
No way.
Across. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe a telemarketer or something. Yeah. I don't know. So I answered it and it's just static.
No way.
Just static. And I'm alone in this bathroom in the hotel too. And I'm like, ooh, okay. So I hang up my phone. As I'm leaving the bathroom, my phone rings again. Same 000 clear across my screen. I answer my phone, and I kid you not, this time it was old-time piano music playing. That was it.
Wow.
And then just static.
And where was that at?
That was down in Arizona at Tombstone. The Birdcage. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I do, sometimes I tell my groups too, when I do the tours, I'm like, they can and will follow you. So if you really truly believe in this stuff, just when we're done, thank them for, following you and communicating with you. But you tell them, please do not follow me past this door. I feel like they can roam. Like that is their town. That a lot of them, I think.
So, but I feel like a spirit that's there at a place is attached to the place, but sometimes they get attached to the person.
I think so.
Now, it probably depends on the person and how much they like. So I feel like some people have the ability to see more than other people, I guess, are more in tune with the spiritual side, just like how children can see spirits and adults can.
Right.
Which is interesting too. But have you ever gotten anybody like that was on a tour and they said, okay, don't follow me past this point? And then have you gotten people saying like, oh yeah, there's stuff going on here?
No, I haven't. I have a lot of people that have come back this year and have requested me again. And just because they have had good experiences and, and I tell them, it's so hit and miss. There might be a really active building on one session, and then our next session, it's dead. I mean, excuse the pun, but I mean, it's, it's very hit and miss. But I've never had anybody come back and say, oh my goodness, Lisa, you warned me, and, get this back to where it belongs kind of thing. No, not at all.
I'm staying in a hotel the next night, and even though I live in Fargo too, I was like, nah, I'm good. I'll stay somewhere else.
Well, that is also interesting too. It's like when you go to these places, and if they're active, but then you go back and they're not active, it's almost like these spirits have a mind of their own, I guess. Like,
or something's
like, I don't want to talk to you right now, so I'm gonna go and chill out over here. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Like, that's so strange.
They'll communicate with you if they want to, if they feel like it, if they're done with you and they just want to be left alone. I mean, it's like that. You'll be getting stuff on Spirit Box and EMF meter, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're done. Bye now, we're done.
Can you explain a little bit what a spirit box is?
So a spirit box is a little box with a speaker, and it scans through radio frequencies quite fast. And normally you should only hear, that ch-ch-ch-ch-ch or static. Mm. So if you do get a word come through pretty clear, or maybe a couple words, phrase or sentence over a few sweeps, that's most likely a direct response to something you've asked or said, or it's telling you. It can be pretty compelling evidence. Nice.
Do those frequencies ever get picked up by like radio signals or?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes we'll get.
That's what happened to me at that Gettysburg thing. Yeah. We picked up all the radio stations nearby, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
This sucks.
So someone could potentially jump on like a CB radio and just mess with people too.
I suppose they could, but it would have to be.
But they would have to know
through it fast. Like
yeah,
it goes
fast, and they would have to know
pretty fast.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they would have to know you're listening too.
Yeah,
but
I'm just trying to debunk it so I could drive home safely.
Not carry anything home.
Yeah, I gotta drive alone,
So before we get into the really nitty gritty stuff, was there any other places that you've had experiences of?
Like around the country?
Yep.
Oh. Deadwood was pretty good.
Deadwood was cool.
Yeah. The brothel there. They had a lady of the night. She did commit suicide by jumping out of her window. Mm. So we, investigating in her room, and it was pretty active. We got a lady crying coming through Spirit Box. We got a male saying, calling women a derogatory name through Spirit Box. A male saying, just shoot them all, like a rough and tough cowboy back in the day would, So yeah, it was pretty interesting, pretty neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We went to when we went to Montana, I think a year and a half ago or so, and there's this city or a little town or whatnot. It's a town somewhere. I couldn't tell you the name of it, unfortunately, but it used to be like an old Western town. Tons of people died. They've got all the buildings up still. It wasn't in great shape when we saw it, but they have a hill, and at the top of the hill, they've got the cemetery where there's a bunch of supposed dead bodies, and or at least the grave sites. And so we went up there, and that was pretty interesting. But we didn't experience anything like paranormal. But it wasn't a tour; it was just something you could roam freely, basically. But the homes were beat up. And basically, they just said this was like a lawless town where people would get killed all the time. And then I had one more experience. Actually, that was paranormal. We were at a birthday party for my buddy Chase back when we were maybe 13 or 12. And we were downstairs. We went upstairs to go grab a snack. And it was probably 12:30, 1 o'clock. And there's a fork that was all the way back on the counter, all the way back to the wall, and it shot over off the counter onto the floor. Nobody else was up there except for his mom, who was sleeping, and we have no proof of anything, and that's just all it was, is that the fork flew off the counter. That was it. Oh. No one said anything about it. Like,
didn't that freak you out?
It was so crazy. We were so scared. We ran downstairs right away. He had this like mini bat that was like this big, and we went back upstairs to see what was
gonna
going
hit a
on.
ghost with a mini bat.
Yeah. So it was a great time, and that was my own first and only experience with paranormal activity. And I'd say I believed it. I was like, I don't know what else could have happened. I mean, his mom could have did it, but why would he plan that and never tell me the truth? And we're still friends 10, 12 years later. So maybe he's been playing a ruse on us, I guess. But it's pretty crazy what you can experience, you know, especially when you're young, I feel like.
Yeah. Tell us about the good stuff.
Like what?
Where you work now.
Well, I volunteer out at Bonanzaville as their paranormal guide, and I do much more than that through the year. I do basically whatever Megan wants me to do. She'll message me, Lisa, can you do this? You know, last minute. Yes, I can do that. So, I mean, I'm out there all the time.
You've been doing the paranormal stuff out there for 3 years now?
Yes.
Okay. So you've done, so it's only during the month of October when you do, right?
The weekends of October, yep.
Do you do anything outside of October as far as paranormal for like private groups or anything like paranormal research or anything like that?
No, besides, like I said, just vacations, family vacations, I try to do something. But just recently now, Fargo Paranormal, she's been talking about me joining their group because every spring they go on a trip. And I think this year she's talking about going to Gettysburg and wants me to go. You know,
hopefully they have better luck than I did.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But she's been joking around with Megan, you know, that she's going to steal me from Bonanzaville and recruit me for Fargo Paranormal. And I'm like, well, I don't know. You got to check with Megan, you know. I mean, I guess the price is right. You guys can battle it out. But
So what kind of experiences have you had out in the Bonanzaville with the...
A lot. Get my name called all the time.
So they know you by name now.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. In the bar, saloon area, I had one group ask, you know, can you please tell us the name of our tour guide tonight? It came through crystal clear.
Wow.
Male voice, our Lisa. Well, that's nice, but, you know, I'm not yours. I don't belong to you, but, you know, thank you. I think they think, you know, our Lisa, you know, I belong here, you know, which it's flattery, but kind of creepy at the same time.
Probably shouldn't go to Fargo Paranormal then. That's kind of a sign.
I guess. Yeah, I don't want to make them mad.
Yeah.
I've been touched out there several times.
Like you could actually physically feel it.
Yes.
Whoa.
Is it cold?
So one of the times
pressure?
I was touched was just actually last weekend upstairs in the brass rail. I was standing back a ways, you know, just letting my group do their thing, because that's kind of what tour guides do. We tell them this is your tour.
Experience.
Yeah, right. We just make sure nobody gets hurt, nobody messes with any of the artifacts out there. So I was just kind of standing back, you know, minding my business, and it felt right on my forehead, almost like when you're a kid and you'd run your socks on the carpet really fast and then, you know, go shock somebody.
Yep,
it felt
zapped.
like that, like a little zap. And I'm looking around like, what was that? And I've had my hair pulled. My last year we were with the North Dakota Paranormal Group out in the brass rail, and they were sitting around the poker table doing spirit box and all that stuff. And I was by myself standing behind the bar, just kind of listening and watching in on them. And all of a sudden I felt my left butt cheek got touched. Like, you know, it wasn't hard, but almost like when somebody tries to sneak by you in a grocery store aisle and they just kind of, you know, brush up against you. So I go, you guys, I think my hiney just got touched. And so one of the guys in the North Dakota Paranormal said, did you just touch Lisa's butt? Male voice came through spirit box, crystal clear, boastfully, I did.
No way.
Like,
Wow.
What are you going to do about it? I did, you know?
Yeah.
So, I've been,
You just started swinging on the air.
Right,
Like, yeah.
right. I've been, and I tell my groups too, I'm like, you know, if you are easily offended by adult language, you might not want to use the spirit box in here, because it never fails in the brass rail. You get adult language coming through. Upstairs, we've gotten a lot of suggestive words. Yeah, so it's
nothing like of just playful touch and zapped.
it's some spirit box stuff. I've been told to go upstairs to do my job. They don't. I don't think they like women downstairs, and I tell my groups that. They think women need to be upstairs. Downstairs the bar area was for the men drinking and gambling.
Interesting.
So
does that? You said the bar. Now, this might be a dumb question, but was that bar built there, or how does that work?
No. So all of the buildings were moved in from somewhere.
Okay.
At one
so
time.
It was somewhere else.
Correct.
In where, was it local here? Okay, so it was in the Fargo. Okay, it was North Dakota. It was in North Dakota somewhere.
Yeah, the brass rail is from Page, North Dakota. So all of the buildings are from North Dakota. So we go through about 6 of them, and then we have 2 buildings that we use, like the courthouse and the drugstore, just in case it takes more time, like in the Houston house and the brass rail. They tend to be the ones that are spent the longest in. So we utilize about 8 buildings for paranormal.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So how did you guys discover that there was activity there? What was the original discovery of oh my gosh, there might be some ghosts or spirits here?
Yeah, she's one of my top guys.
Again, like I said, if you've been out there even just any amount of time, there's stuff happens that you just what the heck,
Does it happen during the daytime too?
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. So just opening up, I would show up early for Megan. She'd give me the master key for the village, and I would go around and unlock the buildings and get them ready for the tours. And just this last week, and I told Megan I was unlocking the Houston house, and I unlocked the entrance door, walked the small little hallway to open the exit door from the inside, and I heard what sounded like a kid giggle through the living room.
Kids are the scariest when it comes to I'm sorry. It's scary.
That's just, and it was just kind of a short,
Nah,
But,
no way.
I'm running away.
I
Film go
unlocked-
kicking,
yeah.
bro.
I unlocked that door and I'm out.
So when you hear stuff like that, do you get mega goosebumps? And
Well, I was a guide the first year I was back. I did most of the guides, and then I've been able to kind of be more into the other side of it where I'm helping out inside. But I was a guide a couple times this year. Yeah, definitely. It's just weird things that, we don't know who it is. We can't specify a name, but Tyler, who's our facilities manager, he was in the Houston house before paranormal and felt like he had gotten kicked. And that was during the day. He felt like was it the overnight? Okay. That was the overnight. It was the overnight where he felt like it was kicked in the Houston house. And so,
so how long have you might have said this, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
how long have you been doing paranormal tours out there?
So it was started by our events coordinator that I took over for.
Okay.
She started it, and I think she ran it. She was there for 5 years. I want to say probably 3 to 4 years prior. So the first year she probably didn't. I would think it was 3 years.
So roughly 2018, stuff like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't as many sessions. There wasn't as many guides. It was just kind of very minimal. And then when I, took over for her and was looking at the events and everything we do out there, this is my favorite one to do. It's kind of my little baby because what I've been able to do with the team that we work with and the volunteers who are a huge part of this is expand it and make it so that our experiences are authentic. We don't go in and do anything. There's no hidden anything that, nothing hidden or
No
hidden agenda
actors and none
behind
of
it.
that
No,
nonsense.
there's nothing
Yeah.
to that. We use a spirit box, we use the thermometer, the EMF detector. And so
Cameras.
phones, yeah, you put your phone on airplane mode when you go in. But yeah, we encourage people to take pictures. We encourage people to share stories. We've made it to more like, we have one attendee that has been out there, I think, for the full amount of time that we've done it, even when Missy did it. So that's like 7, 8 years she's come out, and she's every year she gets a different experience. And that's what you don't know. It's basically like Lisa said, it's your investigation. The guides just kind of help you, basically along the way, and make sure that we're protecting the artifacts, and things like that too. But we take down all the barricades so that we allow you to go inside of the Houston house, inside of the living room. There's bearskin rugs, all of that. Obviously you can't touch them, but that experience isn't normal if you're coming out,
sure,
for
just a tour,
a regular tour. Yep. Yeah. I mean, we don't take the barricades, and we do that during paranormal so that you can go through the whole house, the whole area. And there is unexplained activity. There's in the Pioneer Fire Hall, there's been videos that have been sent to me where the buckets are moving. You can't explain it. It's just, it's just.
So you've seen this with your own eyes, like in a video?
Yeah. Yep. And I've experienced it. I mean, I've taken pictures where it looks like, the first year when I came back and I was a guide, and I took a picture in the train shed, and it looked like a floating dog, and I put it on our Facebook page, and a friend of mine saw it and said, if you zoom in, it looks like a man looking down, mustache and dog on the shoulder. And it's still on our page to this day. I mean, you can look it up and find it from 2021. But yeah, I definitely feel, I think Lisa and I feel a little bit different with our experiences because she's a guide and they're connected, and I feel like mine is a little bit different than hers because, I'm out there a lot, and even all of us staff wise, we're all out there quite a bit. And so my feeling of it is that I feel more of a protector, and I don't feel like they come home with me or anything like that. But I do feel when I'm out there that there's always this sense of connection to every building, and I can't explain it. I don't know.
Like your mother.
It is. Yeah, I mean, we're not even like the staff isn't, in the guided part of it or doing the guides, but like we've all heard our names through the spirit box. And like last year, one of the other guys named Jess, who does some of the guides, and he's been out there for quite some time, he had 3 women in his group, and Tyler and I had just been in the train shed checking we have lights inside the caboose, just to make sure that there's some sort of light, Christmas lights all around on the top. And we were just checking to make sure everything worked. And that was the night before paranormal. And then his group came, it was the first session, it was a 7:30 session. And he had 3 women in his group, and all of them heard and I don't know who it was. I don't know a name, but they had all heard, "Hi, Megan. Is that you, Megan? See you later, Megan." And our executive director has heard things and had different experiences. Like she's had an experience in the courthouse, and so I've never had an experience in the courthouse. She has, no one else has, or, so it's just different connections, I guess, so I, it's hard to explain.
I guess what he was alluding to was, so prior to 2018, there was obviously activity, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So then they just we should make this a thing, right? To have like tours out here to show people.
I'm assuming that was
the idea.
That was the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm
because it's been, Bonanzaville has been around for, I don't know, a long time, right?
1950.
So a really long time.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that there was probably activity going on.
Yeah, definitely.
But I actually do have. It wasn't a ghost or anything, but I remember going into a school trip.
Yeah.
And I went into this little house, I guess, by myself. And there was literally no one out there but us. And my school was St. John's in Wapton. So there was 15 kids or so, right? I go in this house by myself, and I peek around this corner, and it was like not a statue, but a mannequin. There was a mannequin in the bathroom, right? And so when I peek in there, I see this mannequin. I screamed and I darted out the house, and I'm like, "There's someone in there!" And so my teacher comes running over there. And of course, it was a mannequin, but I still remember that to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's there's definitely a different experience on every tour. That's, every big experience something different, and so it's
Is there anything specific, like the most activity someone has gotten that you've had a cool experience with that you can?
Oh, there's been just a lot of videos that they bring back, like the buckets moving. That's happened a couple times. Names being, like Lisa said, names being said. Each one of us that are staff has heard our names or had someone from the one of the guides tell us, or one of the attendees tell us that they heard, one of our names. Like it could be Luke or Tyler or Beth, or so. Yeah, it's just there's definitely.
Have you guys ever used like a Ouija board or anything like that?
No.
Would you?
I'm shocked you haven't, Lisa.
Yeah.
No.
With all your experiences.
I'll let you. Maybe she has.
No, that's one thing I don't think I will ever do.
Because you think they work, or because they don't work?
Because I don't want to know if they do work.
Yeah. I mean, you already seem to be some sort of conduit since you were a kid.
Yeah.
I can imagine if you reach out to the actual dark spirits that you would
I
be
don't
doomed.
want dark spirits. And then, I really feel, Bonanzaville, there's nothing dark out there. I really don't. Like she said, it's almost like you
Just
become
maybe some
protective
rugged
of
men.
them. You're right.
Yeah, right.
Right. There might be a couple grumpy spirits or.
Well, I'm sure they're old men from back in the
right.
day, which is why they're.
Right. Yeah. And, when, to touch back on this mannequin thing, when I first started as a tour guide out there in our telephone museum, there are 2 mannequins in there. One's right inside the front door, and one is higher up on a pole. So I'm bringing my group in, I'm holding the door for them. I said, go ahead on in. A lady in my group, she walked in. I have never heard a lady scream so loud in my life. They could have heard it echo through Bonanzaville. It was the loudest, shrillest
It was probably
scream.
Cody.
Yeah, it probably was. Probably was.
And, I thought it was funny as hell. I really did. She not so much.
Yeah.
So now before I take all my groups in there, I'm like, okay, I have to let you know before we go in, there are 2 mannequins. And that's another thing. I don't like haunted houses where it's the jump scare kind of haunted houses, or you're being chased down hallways with chainsaws and stuff. That's not up my, I don't like scary movies and stuff. I really
You don't like scary movies?
How do you guys
No,
feel
I
about scary
don't.
movies?
What?
I
Like
don't.
they're scary
That
to
is
you,
crazy.
I'm with you on that one.
I don't.
I don't do
or they
scary
don't bother
movies.
you? Okay.
So, so you go to haunted friggin' places.
Yeah.
Where typically that would scare the shit out of anybody.
She's like,
but
I
you
like the
don't
real
like
demons.
scary movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
literally
does
explained
scary
what happens
movies
in
scare
scary
you?
movies. They scrapes on your back. That is out of a scary movie.
That doesn't bother me. I mean, the last scary movie I ever watched with my husband was The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and we were newlyweds. And that movie scared me
And it
so
freaked
bad.
you out.
That movie
I
scares the
slept
life
with
out
my
of me.
head buried in his armpit all night long. Had to use the bathroom so bad, but was too afraid to get up out of bed to go.
Good Lord.
So yeah, I don't do scary movies. I don't do these jump house.
See, that's
haunted
why
house
those
stuff.
things scare me, because I know that's kind of shit is real. You know what I mean? Like, I get why it scares you, because you experience the real paranormal so many
Right.
times in your life. That's the main reason why I won't mess with that stuff. I do not like scary movies.
I have to admit, I messed with the Ouija board before.
I have too when I was younger.
I
when
wouldn't
I was younger.
do that
I did
either.
it.
No.
Yeah, I did
Some of my other experiences out at Bonanzaville last year, I had a group of women come through about my age or a little older. And one of the women asked me, she goes, "You don't really believe in this kind of crap, do you?"
Ooh.
And I said to her, well, yeah, I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. I'm a volunteer. I'm giving up my time, my weekends. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't be doing this. She goes, "Oh, I don't believe in any of this. I'm just along for the fun." Okay. So we went to the Houston house, and she was the first one to go up the stairs, big and tough kind of thing. She rounded the corner. She let out this blood-curdling scream and came running back down the stairs. I'm standing at the stairs with my flashlight. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? She said she rounded the corner and she saw a shadow just go straight across right in front of her.
Whoa.
And she went out on the porch. She refused to come back in the house. She goes, "Okay, I believe. Like,
Okay, what is the Houston house? Can you explain that? Because it seems to be a lot of activity there.
I will let Megan explain that a little more, I guess.
Yeah. So the Houston house is a house that's came from near the Hunter Arthur area. We don't have the full house. We have most of the house. This is like the entire house on the shirt here.
Okay.
But is a
Was
picture.
it a mansion?
Yeah, it was a Houston mansion.
So they just took a chunk of it and brought it to Bonanzaville?
Yeah, we have most of it. Yeah, and
Okay.
I don't know the whole situation with the
rest
you know,
of
the
it.
family. I think still has some of that
Oh,
or
okay.
whatnot.
Oh, interesting.
But most of it is out at Bonanzaville. And so David Houston was a very wealthy man.
Do you know what he did?
He sold his rights to like Kodak, so he was in the film, photography type of field of work.
Okay.
So he was, so he had passed away in the home, is the history behind that, and so maybe that's a lot of the activity, and I can't say for sure if it's him that's coming through, or if it's some generational, family member. But that's why there's a lot of activity, I feel, in that house. His wife Annie played the piano and the organ, and so you can hear music sometimes, which could or could not be her. It could have been someone else in the family. It's hard to say with some of that, but yeah, there's just a lot of activity that's kind of unexplainable in Houston.
When was his time period, I guess? When was David Houston around?
Oh, he passed away. What year was it that he had passed away? I can't remember off the top of my head. Do you?
1903 or
Okay, so he was...
04? Yeah,
yeah,
so it was in
born
early
in the
1800s.
1800s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys brought it here just for the historical aspect of it,
Right. Yeah.
not because there's always been some kind of haunting or anything known of it.
No, all of the buildings are brought in for the historic purpose of
Gotcha.
of.
So basically,
the organization.
anything from the past is haunted. Is what we're dealing with here, right?
Yeah, it seems
I
like...
just want to
I
make
mean-
sure I
It's
stay
always-
out of museums and
It's
stuff.
always antique stuff.
Right. Well, and every building has a history. I mean, if
Yeah,
you go
yeah.
anywhere, I mean, I've been to other museums myself, and every museum is different. I go to Nashville quite a bit. I have a lot of friends out in the radio and music industry, and so I go there quite a bit. And I've been to a lot of their, outdoor museums, I guess you want to call it, where they do reenactments, and so. But I walk into some of those colonial homes, and it's just you feel it. It's just
Creaky
different.
floors
and so,
and...
yeah, and so I just
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's always like the antique stuff where they get attached to?
well, and I think personally, just on a human level, we as humans are I don't want to say materialistic, but we get attached to things. We all have things that we're attached to. You think of something that you like and you're attached to it. Something that you're passionate about, it's an object. It's no matter if it's a sport or whatever it is, you're attached to something, and everything has a meaning. So I think that I don't want to say we as humans are materialistic, but we kind of are.
Sure.
And so when we pass away and we leave behind what was important to us, and I definitely believe in all of that.
So we're all going to be haunting gyms when we pass.
Yeah. I mean, well, and your kids will, hold on to things, and I think maybe a lot of it is, a lot of the objects are from the houses or from the building that's there. They've come with it. So, I believe that just having a possession there that meant something to somebody could bring that spirit back to, they're coming back to something that meant something to them.
But if they have...
That's how I feel about it, I
It's
guess.
just, it's hard to wrap my mind around it, because like me growing up being, from St. John's, being Catholic and stuff.
Yeah.
If you are saved, you're meant to be going off into heaven. So, but then you get some people that get experiences from loving family members, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's where it just gets, the lines get a little confusing, because it's like,
it does. Yeah.
See,
they're there, but
in
Yeah,
a biblical sense,
yeah.
like the Bible talks about that there's no such thing as purgatory.
right.
Right.
And so, they say that and I don't quote this stuff because I don't know it like that, but that spirits, ghosts, things that come as your grandma who missed you, now that she's in the spirit world, it's all demonic, and it's said that that's the devil's magic.
Right.
And if they can convince you that that's grandma, you no longer believe in what the Bible told you.
Right.
So now you're not believing in the truth.
Right.
And so it's like a game the devil plays. That's like one of the things they say about what the Bible scripture says.
Well, I think that there's signs. I mean, I definitely think like I've experienced a lot of loss, obviously in my life with passing of aunts, uncles. I lost my dad in February.
Yeah.
I'm an only child. So I definitely feel that there's a connection to things, because even since losing my dad, and I'll throw this in as an example, there's just signs that he's gone physically, but he's here with me. And I can't explain that because unless you have a loss of a parent, it's really hard to explain that to someone. But definitely feel that there's that he's here.
Yeah.
And there's signs of it because of who he was as a person and things that I do that have to do with him. And so I definitely, as a spiritual person myself, I do feel like there's just been a lot of heavy signs that my dad guides me to what I should be doing. And it's really hard to explain, but that's where it goes into like legacy and what people leave behind and what you do with it. And you keep that, going forward into your life, that your family that's still here, which is your life, but you're not here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, this year has been very, my belief in that afterlife, because I never really thought about it until I lost my dad.
Sure.
I mean, even losing aunt and uncles and all things like that. But now I just feel like, you can have an afterlife and still be present with your family who's still living.
Do you think people are making like the conscious decision in that other world to come back and haunt or, like toy with people and get in their heads? Like if you died, would you choose like, nah, I'm gonna go back and haunt some people now or something? Do you think there's a conscious decision being made on the other side where they want to come back and be with their families? Like in the sense that you're talking about your dad, like did he probably make a conscious decision, say, oh, I didn't know I could do this. Now I want to go back and be with them and let them know I'm present.
Right. I think if you're not ready to like leave, my dad passed away from vascular Parkinson's. And so we had an in-depth conversation before he got really sick in January. And there was many times where he said, I don't want to leave you people, which is meaning my mom and myself. And he, with the vascular Parkinson's, there was some delusional things that happened with that. And he had early stage of dementia. It wasn't real bad, but it was just a combination of both. And he was immobile. But I do feel like, I don't want to say it's like I'm not saying demonic ways.
Right.
But I'm saying that there are ways that you can make your legacy, like what my dad did with his life. You can continue that.
Yeah.
Your family can continue that and open other doors.
Sure.
For the continuation of it. And so I do believe that if you're really not ready to leave and it's your time, it's going to happen. And I think that maybe he felt his work wasn't done, or he had so many things he wanted to do. I mean, he was 79, but I mean, he wasn't. I believe that. And I think that people work through their loved ones, and that's how I feel about what I went through with the loss of my dad.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing, is I'm kind of, he's with me all the time.
Gotcha.
How
about you, Lisa? If I can get maybe a little personal with you, have you lost family members or anybody close to you that you feel like you've had communication with since you're so connected?
I have. I lost my grandmother. I was very close with her. I mean, she was like a second mom.
Sure.
I was always on the weekends. I was over at grandma's kind of thing. So, she was on hospice, passed away from heart failure. I held her hand the night before she died. And I whispered to her, I said, Grandma, when it's your time, can you please let me know that you're okay? I said, nothing, don't jump out and, ooga booga me kind of thing, And yeah, she kind of laughed, she kind of smiled, that was just her. I said, but just something that I know it's you. So the next morning, I got the phone call that she had gone, and I hightailed it over to Moorhead. So we're all sitting around, the coroner came and got her, and I watched her being loaded on, which was very hard. But then that next night, my husband and I went over to stay with my grandpa. We didn't want him to be alone, and so I was sitting. She had a lift chair. I was sitting in her chair. My grandpa was in his chair, and my husband was in like the little guest chair. She had a big, beautiful hutch, antique hutch. We're watching TV. All of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see something in her hutch, something white. It looked like a white candlestick. Lift up, fall over, just crash. And it made a big crash. I mean, I jumped up. My husband jumped up. What the heck was that? Opened up her hutch. There was no white candlestick. There was nothing tipped over. There was nothing out of place. There was nothing that could have made that noise. So I just kind of shut her cabinet again. I sat back down in her chair. I said, "Okay, Grandma, thank you. You're here. Thank you."
Wow.
Yeah.
Your poor husband, his involvement by association has just been so bad for you.
He has. He has. Like, we moved into our house, and unbeknownst, the lady who lived there before us had passed. She was an older lady by herself. She had I guess, a stroke or whatever, and it was a few days before our neighbor actually found her. So when we first moved in, I would shower and I would hear a woman, and I'm like, God, am I losing my mind? Is that somebody outside? Or So my husband, one night, he fell asleep in his chair watching TV, and I had fallen asleep in bed, and I just heard this very deep man's voice in my ear. I mean, just it was almost like a growl in my ear. I mean, it woke me up. I flew out of bed, and I on top of him in his chair, and I'm just shaking, and honey, come to bed. But yeah, so there's been stuff that's happened around our house that I just, even today, there's, lights turn on or turn off in our house by themselves, and
none of that bothers you.
It does my kids, but not me. Now, like, if something comes flying off a shelf or something, then that's going to bother me. But, my husband has tried to debunk this stuff too. Like, oh, maybe it's just bad wiring or stuff. And he's very handy. So he's tried looking through that, and nothing wrong with the lights or wiring or.
Do you ever have any nightmares?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot.
It's a reoccurring one.
Wow. Oh, so you have like the same one over and over.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to tell us?
Well, it started as like a teenager when we first moved up here from Arizona. Moved into a house that, is a 2-story house, which in Arizona, you don't have basements, you don't have upstairs, So my bedroom here was upstairs, and our house has a lot of storage, just major storage on each side, So the cabinets for the storage would creak open and slam shut, creak open, slam shut. And finally, I just, I'm like, I got to the point where I would just push a chair or some boxes up against there, so it could, but then my reoccurring nightmare started where I dreamt I had come home from high school, walked in, my dad and my brother were sitting on the couch, very solemn, like they'd been crying, Dad, Steve, what's wrong? What's going on? They wouldn't tell me. I said, Where's mom? They wouldn't tell me. So I, okay, well, I'm going to go upstairs then to my room, No, Lisa, don't go upstairs. Don't go upstairs. Don't look in the attic. Don't. So I went up there and I, opened up the storage part. It's a big walk-in. You could, 6-foot person could stand in there and walk in. And here's, a coffin in there open with my mom laying in it. That,
Oh.
Yeah. So, to this day, it's honestly probably 2 or 3 times a year I'll have this reoccurring nightmare that, I find my mom in a coffin in storage.
That's weird.
It's disturbing.
Yeah.
It really is.
I've experienced, not in that sense, like a nightmare, but that feeling, I've had to do that in real life. When my dad passed away, so I lived out here. My family's all from California. When my dad died, I'm his oldest son, so I'm considered his closest next of kin. So my godfather, who is my dad's brother, contacted me and was just like, hey, I need to send you the paperwork to sign for your dad's cremation. He wanted to be cremated. This now. I'm like, oh, yeah, send it to me. I'll get it done. So he sent it to me. I signed it, sent it back. And then that weekend I flew to California to attend his funeral and stuff like that. When I got there, me and my brother were at the front of the church, and they were like, you guys want to go in first, spend some time with him, whatever. And I'm thinking like, sure, I guess. What are we going to do? Talk to a vase? You know what I mean? Like, kind of weird. So like the preacher takes us into the church and walks us towards the front of the church. And up front, there's this giant coffin up there. And I'm like, wait, why is there a coffin here? Like, we cremated my dad. I signed the paperwork, And as we got closer, I can see like the brim of this hat he used to wear all the time, like a top hat. And I started like sweating and freaking. I'm like, no way I'm going to see my dad's dead body right now in like real life. And sure enough, as we got up there, his body was laying in a coffin, which was not expected because I'm thinking they cremated him. So I didn't expect to see him one last time and see him dead at that. That kind of messed me up pretty bad. So like when you were telling that dream, and I was like, oh my God, I've done that in real life. So that kind of sucked.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder what why do we dream what we dream? What
I also have had a reoccurring nightmare for like a few years now, like probably ever since I was about 16. So like 8 years or so. And I haven't had it in a long time, but it is the worst nightmare, and it's not scary at all. I'm running around a car at my childhood home in Fargo, or in Moorhead, I should say. And I'm just running around the car, and I believe something's chasing me, but I don't know what it is. I've never seen it. And then I wake up, and I'm just like, heart's racing. Don't know why. Always have it, and it's like been a long time. But like you said, I have about three, 4 times a year. I don't think I've had it this year though, so maybe I kicked it.
Hopefully.
We need to figure out somehow to get Cody haunted or something happen to him. He needs an experience.
I was gonna say
your kids are gonna bring you some.
Dude,
creepy
I was gonna
shit
tell
watch.
these guys like, hey, if you guys ever have a tour, you want to bring me along, show me some stuff. I'll be down to do that. But have you ever had to deal with talk to a priest or anything like that? Get a blessing?
No.
Okay, that's good.
I would probably melt. I don't know. Bless with holy water. No, nothing like that. I mean, I've never felt like I've had something negative attached. I truly believe when we pass, if you don't go up or down and you're in the middle, your personality is still who you were when you were alive.
Sure.
If you were friendly and talkative and cheery, well, then that's going to be, what people encounter.
Yeah.
If you were reclusive and grumpy and just total a-hole, well, that's what you're going to encounter, That's just,
Makes sense.
Yeah. And, again, touching on Houston House and stuff, when I did the overnight with Tyler, yes, he was kicked. I was there to confirm it. Tyler's a pretty big macho guy, and he came running past me and down the stairs, and he was done. And Tyler, what's wrong? What's going on?
Did it hurt?
He said it was enough that it kind of buckled his knee, and he was done. And the EMF meter. I said, did you, who did this to Tyler? Were you trying to scare him? Do you think this is funny? My EMF meter was sitting on the table, and it went all the way up to red, and it stayed there going like this, like almost like whatever it was laughing at him. Like, wow. I thought it was funny too, because it's Tyler. Tyler and I, we kind of give each other crap back and forth. So I'm like, you deserved it, Tyler, but okay. And then earlier, just this season, the first weekend we had our tours, it was kind of a slower season or weekend. So it was me, and I had a younger couple, married, probably in their 20s, husband, wife, and we were downstairs in the Houston House. And I was showing them, telling them a little history on the house, and showed them the photos of who was who on the wall. And all three of us heard clear as day 4 really loud footsteps coming up the porch. And I kind of leaned and I looked out the window of the door thinking, oh, great, another group's coming up already, which usually happens. Didn't see a group, but all three of us saw the doorknob turn, and the front door flew open.
Wow.
It flew open with force. It came within a couple inches of hitting me. And, like I said, it takes a lot. It really does take a lot to scare me or rattle me. But, I almost flew into this woman's husband's arms. I was like, and then once we, kind of calmed down, all three of us were just looking at each other like, wow, did that just happen? What the heck? And then I said, okay, you open the door now. It's cold out. We don't have coats on. Can you please shut the door now? The door again began to move, like sway like this, like it was trying to shut the door for us, but it didn't have enough power to, and we've had a lot of, your phone battery will drain or your flashlight battery will drain. And, I get that all the time. I offer up like my energy sometimes to them, like if you need some energy to, do this, you can have some of mine. Just don't take it all. don't drop me here.
Have you ever felt a little drained after that at all, or?
Yeah. There's times where I've come, back from a tour and I look at Megan and I'm like, I need caffeine.
Yeah.
Like I'm dragging butt. I need caffeine. So yeah, I do, and then I offer up, I don't, and I tell my groups, if you want to provoke, you see these ghost shows where like Zach Bagans and stuff, they're provoking by calling out these spirits and trying to get the negative stuff. And I tell my groups, I'm like, if you want to provoke, that's on you. But I highly suggest do it on a positive note, like provoke with flattery or,
like, I bet you can't close this door.
Yeah. Right.
Well, if you want to start calling out, ghosts by, calling them jerks or whatever, I'm like, okay, but what happens to you next? That's on you. I highly suggest you don't. But again, this is your investigation. You paid for this, so.
That's wild.
That's interesting. Well, you haven't had anybody come back and say, "Hey, get this guy off me," or "Get this person off."
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Have you ever been to the Warren Museum?
Oh, the
Ed and Lorraine?
No, but I would love to. The Annabelle doll.
Yeah, well, they have a bunch of stuff there, like Zach Bagans stuff. But that was one thing I really wanted to do when I was out in D.C. was make my way up to, I think it's Connecticut.
Yes,
is where they're at. And I don't know if they actually have the museum open anymore, but I know that they have like hundreds of haunted artifacts.
Yeah.
Through their experience, with
I would
one
totally
being Annabelle.
do that. Oh, absolutely. Like one of the next tours I would love to do is like Waverly Hills Sanitarium.
Sure.
I would like to do the Villisca house, axe murder house. The Lizzie Borden house.
Oh yeah, Lizzie Borden. Yeah.
Yeah. So
sanatoriums are so fascinating to me. Like I would love to tour a sanatorium.
Yes.
They're fascinating to me. Like how they used to treat like insane people back then is like crazy.
Lobotomies.
Yeah. Putting a friggin' spike in their brain.
I don't want to be in
or
there.
right in their eye.
I'd rather watch a scary movie.
No, not me. I'd rather go to the sanatorium.
See, like I've been literally spending all October watching scary movies.
Yeah.
And I'm so desensitized. Like you can't, besides the jump scares and stuff, like I'm so desensitized that you couldn't touch it.
I struggle with finding a good one. I like that is actually super scary to me. I mean,
I just watched one of the newer Halloweens, and then I went to bed after that. And I was like, "Fuck."
You seen the new Terrifier?
I watched the
I
first
haven't watched
one.
the new one.
No.
I watched the first one for the first time. I was like, wow, this is much better than I would expect it to be. Like I've seen it so many times on like scrolling through to find something. Never clicked on it, and I just watched it. I was like, that's good. So now I'm gonna watch the second one probably tomorrow. So
My kids went to see it, and they're like, "Mom, come with." I'm like, "Nope, I'll stay here, and I'm gonna watch Project Fear or one of these other ghost shows or I love true crime shows. My husband's like, you like stuff that really happened, the real gory stuff, but you don't like the fake scary movie stuff. That's right.
I was going to ask you that next, because most people who are into like the hauntings and paranormal stuff are also really into murder mystery stuff, which is very strange.
Like I've been right now, I'm watching the Lyle and Eric Menendez thing.
Yeah, they're about to get released potentially here in December, huh?
Well, they're looking at trying to appeal the ruling.
Yeah.
Whether or not that happens, who knows?
So I'll watch stuff like that, but jump scare stuff and Halloween ghost face stuff. No. Not for
Yo,
me.
you wouldn't like Pennywise. How do you feel about clowns then?
Clowns don't bother me.
No.
My husband, no. I would love to go to the Clown Motel in Tonopah, Nevada. And,
See, I'm not
stay
scared
overnight.
of clowns, but I don't know if I'd be down for something.
Right. I'm gonna be
I would
honest.
stay overnight.
It is a little bit like freaky. When I watched it and then It 2, like the second one, chapter 2, I get a little nervous about that because it's just like
You know what scares me more than like spirit stuff is alien stuff.
I don't know.
Alien
about
stuff freaks me out more than that.
that. Doesn't scare me anymore. I can't say. Do you guys believe in aliens by chance?
I believe there's maybe something out there. I mean, to think that we are the only intelligent life force in this entire solar system. I mean, I think we'd be pretty closed-minded, or I mean, right?
I don't think they look probably maybe all the same. Like I don't think they look like like you see.
Like
they're
like
just
Al
green.
over here.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think that they. I think that
But don't you find it curious that we started drawing aliens a certain way, and
The big eyes.
with the big eyes, the big heads.
Yeah.
You know,
And I mean, you watch like Unsolved Mysteries from the 80s, right? And you see all that, I mean, if you remember.
or
that
people
show.
that have had experiences all
yeah.
have the same
Description
of it.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that curious?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit. Yeah. I mean,
Cody's big into aliens, so
Yeah,
that's why we
I
try to
think
ask.
that's-
Well,
most guests.
I think of
Yeah.
it like on a military standpoint with all of the evidence that's come out recently with the tracking of the aircrafts that they have.
right.
And so it really broadens my curiosity when you've got the military now stating, yes, we have actual data of tracking of their aircrafts that we know for a fact are not human.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely familiarities in the face,
Mm-hmm.
which is why when you see drawings, I mean, there's that the eyes are, so I would say
I don't think it's like out of the realm of possibility if you believe in the supernatural. That's
Right.
What if
There
they're
could be-
just from the future?
That's
and
that's
we
another
just,
like
we just think they're
possibility.
aliens, but they're like
Right.
time
Future.
traveling or coming from the future, and they're wearing masks that look like aliens.
they just don't want us to blow ourselves up
yeah,
with
Right.
nuclear war.
which is what we're trying to do. Right on. Well, hey, anything else you guys want to touch on before we close out? Any
Yeah.
creepy, scary stuff, or any plugs you want to make for you?
I mean, yeah. Well, going back to like paranormal investigations, I mean, we are a nonprofit who run on volunteers. We have many different volunteer opportunities.
Cool.
One thing I love about my position with what I do and coordinating events is having people that come back and are interested in being guides, because if you're interested in being a guide, we do a run through where Lisa goes with you, or Lisa and I will run through and show kind of how we do the investigations. And my position is more getting everything implemented in a schedule, and I'm very much coordinating all that
coordinator,
side
yeah.
of it. But I've got to experience the other side of it too, which is getting that activity that I've received, and which is different than what Lisa's received, and everybody has a different experience. So I guess I'd just say, like, if it is something, if you haven't checked out Paranormal Investigations in Bonanzaville, come out. We run it the whole month of October. And if you're interested in being a guide, contact us and let us know.
What is the process like to be a guide? Is it
So, I mean, basically what we do is I start kind of planning for the next year. Like we meet, we talk about it after we're done. We meet we do like a lunch. We meet and talk about people's availability for weekends. Lisa is fantastic. She dedicates her entire month of October. She's out there doing this, and she's a great guide. She's got experience, and so that's what we want to try. It's not something where you have to tell a story. You're not telling a story. You're just
Leading
like Lisa
people.
said. You're leading people. The investigation is yours. They're there to just make sure that you don't get hurt. You're not touching artifacts, and you're getting the experience using the equipment. Ask questions, and so and it's a wonderful event for us. We have 41 buildings to maintain, and as a nonprofit, it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to maintain those buildings. And we have wonderful volunteers, like I'll mention Lisa because she just doesn't do this. She's basically always there to help, and she's as dedicated as a staff person to Bonanzaville, which is wonderful. And I'm so thankful because I can't do my job without having that help. So it's a fun event, and you get to have an experience that you can take with you and talk about.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm very interested to be.
I was gonna say, Cody,
tour guide.
Yeah, no, and it would be great. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
definitely gonna say we'll try and get out there this next October because that sounds like a good time.
Yeah,
sounds like fun.
definitely.
Well, can we film if we went to one?
Yeah, definitely. You bring your camera. We have people that do video. We encourage that, and we encourage you to talk about your experience. We do like the drinks and the food and all that in the boardroom, and everything's decorated. We get everything to the nines with the decorations. Nice. I still have a lot to take down, but it's definitely something where you meet friends, and that's you meet people that can talk about their experiences, and that's what we want, is to build relationships. And it's just been a great event for me. Like I said, it's one of my favorite ones to do. And then I do the wedding and reception side of things too. So we all wear a lot of different hats out there.
Sure,
a lot of different things that we do. So that's
very cool.
If you haven't checked it out, check it out.
Make sure you guys check it out. If you want to volunteer to help out at Bonanzaville, check in with Megean, see what you can do to contribute over there. And I think maybe we'll get ourselves on a haunted tour, see if we can't get it on camera. Right on. Well, we appreciate you ladies, Lisa and Megean. Thanks for joining us tonight and sharing some of your stories with us.
Absolutely.
Everybody else, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends about us. Don't tell your friends about us. Talk good, talk bad. Doesn't really matter as long as you're talking about us. Peace.